So today we're going to be talking about how to build major scales. You guys have been in my class, so you know that there's different parts of music, and we call them the elements of music. Scales are how melodies are formed. So we take the different notes on an instrument, if you put them in a row, then it becomes a scale. So a scale is like going up in steps up this stair. The word scale comes from the Latin word scala, so a lot of English words come from Latin, which is a dead language, but a lot of romantic languages come from that language. So scala means ladder. So imagine climbing up a ladder or going higher in your voice, and climbing down a ladder and going lower in your voice. So I put this guy here, he's walking up this scale. Each note in the scale has a different name. So you might have heard this before: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and it keeps going ti, do. You can also give numbers to the notes of the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it goes 7. 8 is the same as 1. So it's going to end on the same note it starts on. So the cool thing about scales is that you get a recipe for what that scale sounds like. And then you can move it so that it starts on a different note, but it still sounds the same. And that's because each scale has a pattern of whole steps and half steps. So we're going to learn what whole steps and half steps are first, then try to build 5-note scales just from do to so in our worksheets today. So a half step, when we look at the piano keyboard, it's got white keys and black keys. So a half step is when you go from one key to the key right next to it. So these two blue arrows are showing that if I press this key, then play this one, it's going to be a half step. This is actually how you would play the Jaws theme, like ba-da, ba-da. That's a half step. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's a half step. There's also half steps between two white keys in the piano. If there's no black key in between them, so these have black keys in between them. These two don't. If you were to play this one and this one, it would sound the same. Ba-dun, da-dun, just starting on a different note. So this is also a half step. A whole step is when you skip one key. So if I go from a white key to another white key with a black key in between, this is a whole step. If I go from a black key to a white key and I skip a white key in between, that's also a whole step. So you can think of a whole step as 2 half steps, 1, 2, or as skipping a key. So this one, skip a key to that one. So we're going to learn more about the whole steps and half steps on the keyboard. I've put a photo of all the notes on a keyboard. We label them using the alphabet in America. Other countries do it a little bit differently. But we took A through G, the first 7 letters, and then just started repeating them. So each key gets a note, and it starts repeating. So you'll see C, and then it starts again at C, like that. The black keys get names that are similar to the keys next to them. So you can talk about this black key here by saying it's C sharp. So you're saying it's the one to the right. Sharp means to the right of C. Or C, you could call that same key D flat. So flat means it's a half step lower or one key to the left of D. So listen along in this video and we'll talk about it in a minute.
Understanding and being able to identify the difference between half steps and whole steps is critical to the study of music theory. While the distance from each line and space on the staff looks identical, they are not all the same distance apart in terms of pitch. It is easiest to show this concept using the piano.
So musicians read music on what's called a staff. It's 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when we write scales up on the staff, it looks like a ladder. It's going to be going up or going to be going down. So up on the staff is higher in the pitch, lower on the staff is lower in pitch. The other thing is that scales go every other. So it's going to be line, space, like that. Like you're putting one in between the lines and one right on top of the line. The hard part though is that these all look like steps and we can't tell where the half steps are. So that's where we have to make sure we're looking at the keyboard as well, because all of these look the same, but some of these are half steps, some of these are whole steps.
Piano keyboard. The white keys on the piano are labeled A through G. The letter names and positions on the keyboard correspond with the lines and spaces on the staff. In treble clef, the lines and spaces are labeled like this. Each pitch on the keyboard is exactly one half step apart. Thus, if we start on the white note C and raise the pitch by one half step, we would play the black note directly to the right. If we start on the white note C and lower the pitch by one half step, we would play the white note directly to the left. You will notice there are no black keys between the pitches B and C, as well as E and F. This means that the distance between B and C is a half step, and the distance between E and F is a half step. Half step movement from any other starting pitch will always involve one black key and one white key. We name the black keys depending on their relationship to the white keys. A sharp indicates raising a named pitch by a half step. A flat indicates lowering a pitch by a half step. Thus, the black key to the right of the white note G is called G sharp. If we approach this exact same black key from the other side, we call it A flat. Thus, G sharp and A flat are called enharmonic pitches. Every black key on the keyboard has two common names. In actuality, all pitches have more than one name. Some are less common than others, but the rules of half steps, sharps, and flats hold true throughout. For example, if I start on the white key E and I want to raise it to E sharp, I would move one half step to the right, which happens to be the white note F. That means that the note F and E sharp are enharmonic pitches. Understanding all of that, we can now introduce our next rule, and that is that a whole step is always made up of two half steps. If we start on the white key G, a whole step up from that would be the white key A, because this distance involves two half steps. Starting on G, a whole step down would be the white key F. If we start on the white key B, a whole step up actually lands on a black key. It still follows the whole step rule by involving two half steps. The resulting note a whole step above B is C sharp. When you look at the music staff, it is not as obvious where the half steps fall. The distance between B and C is a half step, but the distance between F and G is a whole step. Therefore, it is important to visualize the keyboard when you are learning this concept. After enough practice and involvement, this concept will become more automatic.
Alright, so a little bit more about sharps and flats. We're going to need these to describe the black keys, and in some scales you're going to need them. So a half step is when a melody goes from one key to the very next key. So a flat note is a half step down from the white key. So D natural would be the white key D. D sharp is the black key to the right of it, and D flat is the black key to the left. So in this video, we're going to see more of what it looks like on the keyboard. I also want you to listen to how both a scale starting on C major, or the note C, is going to sound the same as a D major scale because of the whole steps and half steps. So the pattern is whole step, half step, whole step. So you're going to see she's going to play the same number of half steps and whole steps, but start on D.
You will use the same fingerings for all the 5-finger patterns, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the right hand, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the left hand. We will start with C major, which is fairly straightforward. Now go to D major, which has one sharp F. Remember to raise your wrist in order for your hands and fingers to travel up to F.
So the whole step here moves. So we now have a whole step. And to have a whole step here, we have to skip F natural and go to F sharp. So that's why there's a black key in the middle. Then we still have a half step and a whole step. So it's going to sound the same.
The wrist then lower to play G and A. So the overall motion and shape is an arc. You can apply the
So it sounds the same no matter what note you start on.
No.
So we're going to build some scales for our worksheet. I put the name of the scale on the left here.
Stop teaching me.
And then this would be Do, the first note, Re, the second note, Mi, the third note, Fa, the fourth note, and G, the fifth note of the scale. So if we start with C and we go up a whole step, we have to go to D. If we go from D up a whole step, we get E. F up a half step, we get F. Sorry, E up a half step, we get F. And then F up a whole step, we get G.